Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough to be doing it too. I'm Bushka Blitz, and I'm here today to have a chat to you about the 44. This is the T44. I actually haven't done a video featuring the T44 for a long time, like over a year, I think it is. And this is a video I've been threatening to do for a long time, but never got around to finishing because I do actually have, or I have actually had this footage on the go, loaded up in Final Cut Pro for quite a while. This is a stock to rock video. Now what I'm going to be running here is the 44 stock with all the stock modules. So you're going to be playing with the turret T44 rather than the 44-100 turret, so you don't have the really cool turret. I'm going to be running it with the 85mm Zis S53, which has 126mm of pen on the AP shells and 200 alpha damage. And more importantly, the engine V244, which is not that crash hot, and the T44 suspension. All this combines to make a tank that I was surprised was actually still pretty competitive. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because I didn't think it would be able to do much like that. And obviously, it's not nearly as strong as it is when it's rocking out. But if you're starting off with the 44, and the reason I chose the 44 is pretty specific. Look how it's so long ago that the orange isn't even on when you hit tanks. That's so cool. And the reason I chose the 44 is pretty specific. The 44 is when you start running the Russian classical design, the low slung, very, very slippery, steep upper glacis, very low to the ground, very good camo tanks, as opposed to the 3485s and the 34 variants that have very, very tall, and the gun's mounted right over the front wheels, and you can angle it up very steeply off corners, but it doesn't stay down like the 44 and the 54 and the 62A and the 140 and the T54 lightweight. And this is what that gun does. This is what that tank does now. And you can see I'm so passive with this tank when it's stock. I just don't have the wherewithal to get in there. And I'm picking targets pretty much based on how light their armor profile is. And it's something I realised when you're driving this tank stock, you really got to pay attention to the tanks in front of you and go for tanks that you can actually penetrate, because you've only got 120mm of AP pen on the 85mm Zis, 126 in fact. And that's horrible. The gun you end up with, which is pretty cool, is the 100mm LB1, and we'll get to that in just a second. The other thing that's notable is when you run into Tier 9 games, you are absolutely screwed if you run into anyone. But the chassis is still the same chassis. So you can see that 54 lightweight isn't angling up correctly to me, and I'm angling up correctly to him, and I'm getting bounces and still being effective simply because I'm playing my Russian tank the way you should play a Russian tank, which is angled up at about 20 degrees with that very, very steep upper glacis, giving it a good chance. That was a horrible shot. I can't blame it being stock on that one. That was all me. And you can see I'm constantly just trying not to get hit by that. Look at the pen. Side hugging. I mean, these are the things that don't change. And it's one of the reasons why the better you get at the game, the more you're going to be able to get out of your tanks, whether they're stock or they're rock. We're going to change all our equipment now, just so you can see 1600 damage, nothing special, but you've got to be a lot more passive when you're at this thing, especially against Tier 9 tanks and bigger tanks. And we're now going to roll it up, and we're going to go for all the good stuff. So I've got to upgrade the turret before I can mount the top gun, and then we get the LB1, we get the big engine, we get the big tracks, we get all the bells and whistles, which is really cool. I'm very, very, very happy. And it was nice to drive these and get back to the feeling that I had way back in the day where, you know, you were looking for that next engine upgrade. I actually didn't upgrade the tracks here, so it's even better than this. There you go. I remember driving the 44, and when it has stock cruise skills too, it was very, very sluggish. But you can see straight away when we start moving here, there's a big difference in the acceleration of the tank. It's so much more, it just moves much better. It just, it gets there much quicker. And it's funny because on a lot of the tanks, the modules look very, very different. But on the 44, that's not the case. There's not a huge difference. You can tell when they're using the dirt gun, the 120mm, but for the most part, the modules look very, very similar. And I play it in much the same way. The only difference being, in terms of angling and such, but I'm much more confident and willing to get up and move forward and be at the tip of the spear. Because although this little tank doesn't have a massive armor profile, it has that Russian upper glacis. And if you're good at angling, and by good at angling, what I mean is if you've ingrained it into your muscle memory, that when you are looking at targets, you are always angling this upper glacis, so that even when you get a shot coming in that you're not expecting, you are presenting your massive armor profile to the tank, or the largest part of your armor profile to the tank. The gun's so much better, and straight away you see the difference in the alpha. When you start playing with the LB1, you're playing with a gun that has 280 alpha on 100mm, as opposed to the 200 alpha that you get on an 85mm, and that makes a big difference for a tank like the T44, because even though the actual damage per minute number doesn't go up, it means you're on a tank that has a very, very peek-a-boom style gun. All your damage tends to be front-loaded, so you're able to move forward, roll back, keep track of everyone, and then launch off a lovely little shot like that and try and clear a target. Now, we rolled average there. If we had rolled a little bit higher than average, another 5 points, maybe 300, we would have done him. But look at the tank just moves so much quicker now. It's so much better and so much more effective at getting around. And because of the penetration and the better alpha damage and the better turret and the better gun handling, I'm much more confident in being involved at the front of the queue. Plus, it's not a tier 9 game, obviously. So that was a real little eye-opener for me. Going back, and I've got to say, we forget about all the guys out there that haven't ground all the tanks. Now, I went through the pain with everyone else. I went through the pain of grinding these tanks stock. I've quite simply gone through it, however, and have moved on with my life, and I don't have to go through it anymore because I've done it. And you guys who are out there and starting out these stock grinds, we salute you, because they really are much more difficult than I remember. And even with full crew skills, this tank just was not the voracious little appetite for destruction that it was when it was fully upgraded. And I really enjoy making these videos, and I want to make a lot more of them. They're great fun. The PCA one was good fun, and this was good fun as well. I'm Bushka on Blitz. I hope you enjoyed that. Leave some suggestions in the comments for the next one to do it with. I'd love to have a look at this as a series and maybe do a few more interesting ones, because I know there are some tanks out there that are very, very tough to drive stock. We might even try and find one that I haven't got, that we can get crew skills that are really low, and you can see the big difference between a fully stock and a fully upgraded. Until next time, look after yourselves, boys and girls. Stay safe on the battlefield, and bye for now.